Hey there, it's BoardGameDave, and today we're taking a look at a game called My Lil Everdell, which was graciously provided by the folks at Tabletop Tycoon. Now, this is a 2022 release, and it's a streamlined, simplified family version of the 2018 blockbuster, which was, of course, Everdell, which is a phenomenal award-winning game in its own right, but now we've got its little brother, My Lil Everdell. So in this game, you take on the role of the kids of Everdell, kind of making your own pretend city and hanging out with your friends and having little parades and making pirate ships and drawbridges and things like that. It's very adorable. It plays from 1 to 4 players. It takes about 20 to 40 minutes to play. And the box says ages 6 and up, although we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. So phenomenal game. I've really enjoyed playing this game, and it's a very simple game to teach. So let's head to the table. I'll do a really quick teach of how to play this game, and then we'll come back up and I'll give you my overall thoughts. All right, welcome to My Lil Everdell. And this is such a simple game. It's very easy to play. It's very easy to teach. All you're going to do on your turn, and we start with the player with the sun, is you take one of your little meeples and you put it somewhere out on the board in an action spot. Now, some of these spaces are first come, first serve, like here. Okay, only one meeple can go there. And some of these are shared locations like this where multiple meeples can go. So you place your worker and you gain the resources shown. Now, by the way, these dice use 1 per player. So in this case, a 2-player game, we're using 2 dice. So Fox goes there, gets 2 wood, puts them on their player board, okay? Now, after you place your worker, you have the option of purchasing one of these cards. There's 8 down here. We'll look at those in a second, right? Next player goes, they place their worker, they gain resources, they can buy a card. You go back and forth. Now, each player has 3 meeples, so after all the meeples are out on the board, the round is over. We move the moon to the second round, you gain some goodies, you re-roll the dice, you pass the sun to your left, and you do it all again, okay? You're gonna play through 4 rounds. At the end of the 4th round, you add up the points and see who wins. That's all there is to the game. Very simple. So you place a worker, gain resources, and then you can purchase a card. So let's go ahead and look at these cards. Now there's always gonna be 8 down here in the display to choose from, and there's all sorts of different colors, right? So each card has I'll show you here. Each card has a cost, right? So in this case, a wood and a resin. Sometimes you're gonna use berries to attract friends like this. And in the top left corner, it shows you whether it's a building or a critter friend, basically, okay? Now the colors down here are important as well. There's 5 different colors and they each do different things. So tan cards give you a one-time immediate bonus. So you get 2 berries here, okay, when you build the feast. Purple cards give you points at the end of the game. In this case, 1 point for each building in your tableau, right? Green cards, they immediately give you that resource or that benefit, but then every time, remember how when we move into the next round, I'd say we get some goodies, right? There's that green kind of harvest icon. So any green cards that you have are all gonna activate at the beginning of each round. So they give you ongoing resources. Blue cards are interesting because they give you a new rule that goes on for the rest of the game. In this case, after you play a critter, right, you get a point. Now I have some points right here. These are metal points from Everdell, the cardboard in My Lil Everdell, but same idea. So you get a point each time you play a critter if you have the bank. That's awesome. And finally, red cards. These are going to give you your own action space that only you can go to. So if I have this in my city, as it were, right, on my turn, instead of going out here to the main board, I can go here to my own space and get those resources. So those are the 5 different types of cards you're going to see. Sometimes instant, sometimes ongoing, pervasive benefits, so on and so forth. Now, the only other thing we really need to talk about are these parades. So as you go throughout the game and you add more cards to your tableau, it's going to look something like this. You'll be kind of, gaining cards into your fort or your city. You're going to be accomplishing these objectives, hopefully, right? As soon as a player has 5 critters, they take this top parade, right? And these parades go in descending order. So the first player gets 6 points for doing that. Next player gets 5, then 4, then 3 in a 4-player game, okay? Next one is 5 buildings, very simple. Next one is having 3 of a kind, not including green, you'll notice. So 3 of a kind of any other color, you get those points. And then finally at the end, this is having at least one of each different color represented. So those are gonna be big points as well. At the end of the game, after 4 rounds, everyone takes 12 turns actually. You're going to go ahead and add up your points. Now, some of your points are going to come from the cards themselves in the top right corner here. You're also going to get points for your parades, as we talked about. If you have any of those point tokens, you'll add those up to your score now. Purple cards, like we said, have end game scoring, so you might get in this case 1 point for each purple card you have. And finally, every 2 resources is a point. Add it all up, whoever has the most points wins. I should mention, by the way, that the rulebook has some suggestions for playing with younger players. You can have them start with 1 of each resource, and also there are these captain and fort cards. So if you're playing with a younger child, I don't know, like a 6-year-old or something, okay, you can have the option of starting them off with these 2 cards, and then at the very beginning of the game, for that harvest phase, they'll get a point and they'll get a resource. So just an idea of how to kind of balance the game for younger players is suggested in the rulebook. Also, if you want to play solo, you have 2 solo opponents to play against, Princess Periwinkle and Prince Pumpernickel. So Princess Periwinkle is just going to, on her turns, roll a die. This is a D8 here. You're going to roll the die. You're going to claim that card in the display down here, and then place one of their workers to block that spot for the round, okay? On the other side, Prince Pumpernickel is really simple. He's going to put his meeples out on these location spaces, kind of block you out of some of those juicy spaces, then roll then roll the die to play that card. So they're extremely simple to manage, but you have 2 sorts of different play styles for your solo opponent that you want to play against. So now that you know how to play My Lil Everdell, let's go through my 7-point criteria for rating a game, starting with the art and components. And of course, it goes without saying that the art for this game is absolutely tremendously beautiful. The artwork is done by Andrew Bosley, who is the same artist who did Everdell and is one of the biggest names in board game art right now. He is kind of a preeminent board game, artist. So needless to say, the card art is beautiful, and I love that every single card in this game is unique, which doesn't usually happen in the Everdell games. So you've got these, little Everdell critters, dressing up as doctors or postal carriers or whatever, and it's just adorable. Such a charming and quaint and cozy universe that Andrew Bosley has created with Everdell, and it applies here as well. As for the components, of course, if you're familiar with Everdell, we go back to those really fantastic, very tactile resources. You've got the wooden wood, and you've got the resin, and you've got those squishy berries that everybody loves from Everdell. Now, the point tokens are cardboard, and they're not metal like in the collector's edition of Everdell, so that's a small knock for me. But beyond that, the parade tokens are nice and thick, and the cards are fantastic quality. Overall, it's a 9.5 for art and components. The whole thing is lovely. Oh, I didn't even talk about the dice being really high quality dice, and the meeples themselves are cute and vibrant and great little animals. So art and components, splendid, 9 out of 5. I mean, 9.5 out of 10. Second is complexity versus audience, and that's where we come back to that 6+ label on the box. Now, a 6-year-old is probably in 1st or 2nd grade, and this is a lot of math and resource management and long-term planning and strategizing for a 1st or 2nd grader, but BGG says ages 8 and up, and that makes more sense to me. I feel like an 8-year-old could firmly understand the strategies. They could set up the game by themselves. They could teach it to their friends on their own, which is really hard to pull off with a strategy game like this, but I feel like an 8-year-old could handle that. So complexity versus audience, they almost nail it. I feel like 6 is a little bit ambitious, but don't forget that the rulebook has those suggested balancing methods for younger players who are playing, with grown-ups or whatever. So complexity versus audience for families, for ages 8 and up, younger kids, this is awesome. So I give it a 9 out of 10 for complexity versus audience. Third is thematic integration. And to be completely honest, I wasn't even sure exactly what the theme of this game was until today. Apparently you're building a pretend city with your friends, and that does come through in the gameplay. You go to the berry patch to collect some berries to feed to your friends, and then collect wood and resin to build your pirate ship or your air balloon or your fort or your palace or whatever you're working on. So thematically, it comes through pretty well. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. Now, intuitive mechanics, though, I'll give a 9.5 out of 10 because that is where the theme really comes through and helps with the gameplay. So, even a kid can understand taking my little meeple, going to the woodshed to collect some wood, and then on that same turn, spending some resources to build a palace, for example, right? It's really intuitive. The mechanics, the user interface, the graphic design choices, it's all very intuitive. And again, because kids can understand that theme of, feeding your friends berries and spending resources to build some sort of pie shop, for example, it's very easy to understand. I love that. So again, 9.5 out of 10 for intuitive mechanics. The colors, the 5 different colors on the cards, that might be a little tricky at first, but beyond that, it plays so smoothly. Fifth is replayability, and I do have a few concerns here about the replayability. So first, there's only 59 cards in this box, and you see a bunch of them in each game, so it's not like there's a ton of cards to explore, but maybe more than that, there's also not any variability. Like in Everdell, you've got those special events, sort of different strategies to try out, or different goals to go for. My Lil Everdell is always going to be the same setup, the same, parades and same cards and same resources and things like that. So there's not a lot of variability there. Not to mention, I worry that there's kind of only I wonder if there's not a lot of viable strategies in My Lil Everdell. I wonder if there's certain strategies that are just kind of OP, but I could be wrong. I haven't played it quite enough to know for sure, but replayability wise, I think it's a phenomenal game. As far as replayability, I don't know. I give it an 8 out of 10 for replayability. Sixth is length and fun factor, and this game is speedy. It's like 25 minutes for a 2-player game. For solo, it's like 15 to 20 minutes, so it is very, very quick. Last time Hannah and I played together, she's like, I kind of wish there was one more round. So if anything, it's a little too short, but of course this is for kids. So, 20 minutes in and out, you take 12 turns. Every turn is exciting because you're getting resources and putting cards out. And I really like the whole tension of those parades, because again, whoever gets there first gets the most points. So you're looking around at everybody else and seeing, oh, Tom's got 4 critters. He only needs 1 more, but I got to get that first. So that kind of helps with the excitement of the end game as people start snatching up all those parades. So that's really enjoyable as well. So great pacing, quick, nice short pace for kids. I give it a 9 out of 10 for length and fun factor. And finally, cost versus value. Now, I've seen all sorts of prices for this game, as low as $25 at Walmart, all the way up to the MSRP of $45 at certain stores. So if you're getting this game for $25 at your local Walmart, that is a 10 out of 10 value purchase for me. I mean, bang for your buck for a kid's game. This is as good as it gets. You've got these great components, beautiful art, and a really compelling and engaging and fun game for kids to kind of stretch their brains a little bit and try some strategizing and planning and resource management. So 10 out of 10 if you're getting it at $25. If you're paying more like $45, now that cost versus value is kind of skewing the other direction. Maybe an 8.5 out of 10 if you're paying full MSRP price for this game. And there you have it. Average out all of those scores and you get a final rating of 8.96 out of 10 for My Lil Everdell. And this is a phenomenal family game. If you have kids of your own, or if you have nieces or nephews that you can play board games with, this is a great game to introduce them to for so many of those kind of strategy Euro concepts like worker placement, resource management, tableau building. It's great. It's awesome. We recently played this with with Hannah's cousin's son, who is 9 years old, and he was kind of curious about the box, so we played a 3-player game of it, and he liked it so much he wanted to play it again at 2-player with me and him, and then he wanted to play it again, but we didn't have time to play it a third time. But he really enjoyed it, and he's not like a big board gamer, so if you want to, convert the youngest, people in your life to the world of board games, I think My Lil Everdell is a great candidate for that kind of gateway game to introduce kids to what's out there in modern board gaming. Just a thought. But anyway, that's My Lil Everdell. I hope you enjoyed the quick review. If you want to know anything else about this game, please feel free to ask me any questions you want in the comments down below. In the meantime, thank you so much for hanging out. Have a wonderful week. Take care and happy gaming. Bye. It's a very great game. It's very fun to play. I've enjoyed my time with it. Oh, I'm holding the box sideways. That's not helpful.